My name is Moreh IshiYAH Yisrael from the House of Israel in Cincinnati, Ohio, 2330 Kemper Lane, bringing to you in 40 minutes or less. In 40 minutes or less, I will prove beyond a shadow of a doubt the word of Yahweh. Who is this Yahweh? Yahweh is the creator of the heaven, the earth, the sea, and all that is therein. Yahweh is the Elohim of our fathers, Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yisrael, whom you may know as Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Yahweh is our judge. Yahweh is our lawgiver. Yahweh is our king, who will save us. Shalom, and praise the mighty Yah. Welcome to another program of 40 minutes or less. In this program in 40 minutes or less, lesson number 56, we will continue to deal with the law of perfection. This is the law of perfection number 5. In the law of perfection number 5, we will deal with the perfect son. And yes, our sons also must be perfect. And there are certain things that you have to teach them to be perfect. But it's also their responsibility to learn these things to be perfect. So let's start off in the book of Exodus. Exodus, the 20th chapter. And let me not forget, we will do this, all this, improve this in 40 minutes or less. For it don't take 40 minutes to prove the word of Yahweh. Most times, oftentimes, it's considerably less. But watch what this says. I want you to see this. The first thing that one should begin to teach their son. And you'll find this in the book of Exodus, the 20th chapter, the 12th verse. And watch what it says. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which Yah thy Elohim giveth thee. And little do people know, this is the 5th commandment. This commandment is all about honor. And that's why the Creator said, honor thy father and thy mother, because we got to teach our sons, and not just our sons, but especially our sons, how to be honorable. But it's because how can you honor anything without being honorable? You must learn how to be honorable to honor anything. And we're going to show you that. Furthermore, to show you that honor is essential, one of the first things that your son should learn. And you're going to see exactly what honor is. But in the book of Proverbs, the 29th chapter, let us turn there. Proverbs 29. We're dealing with the perfect son. In the 23rd verse, this is what it says. A man's pride shall bring him low, but honor shall uphold the humble in spirit. And you want to teach your sons how to have a humble spirit. The way you teach them, first and foremost, is by example. And secondly, you teach them by defining what this honor actually is. And we're going to show you what this honor is. What is honor and how can you be honorable? Another scripture on this is in the book of Proverbs, the 18th chapter, since we're in Proverbs. Again, this is one of the first things that your sons should learn is honor. In Proverbs 18, in the 12th verse, this is what it says. Before destruction, the heart of man is haughty, which lets you know haughtiness is not regulated to some woman. No, pride as well as haughtiness can be either man or woman because it's a spirit that one possesses. But haughtiness is after the destruction, or before the destruction, the heart of man is haughty. So you're haughty, but then you watch and see what comes next. And before honor is humility. And little do people know. Just give you a little secret inside knowledge on what honor is. Honor is humility. And humility is honor. That's why this is one of the first things that a son have to learn. Because he's not going to be obedient. He's not going to follow instructions. He's not going to Shema Yisrael. He's not going to do any of those things unless he show himself to be honorable. And to be honorable is to be humble. And you're going to see how these two words are united with one another. The second thing that your son need to learn in order for him to be perfect, now that he seemed to be an honorable young man, watch this in the book of Deuteronomy. Oh, let's go here first. Leviticus 19. Talking about the perfect son. Leviticus 19. And this is what it says in the book of Leviticus, the 19th chapter. Because once a man learns to be honorable, or a son, watch this. In the book of Leviticus, the 19th chapter, and this is what it says. And we're going to read the first through the third verse. And Yahweh spoke unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto all the congregation of the children of Israel, and say unto them, Ye shall be holy, for I, Yahweh your Elohim, am holy. Ye shall fear every man, his mother and his father, and keep my Sabbaths. I am Yahweh your Elohim. And little do people know, why did Yahweh include keeping his Sabbaths with fearing every man his mother, every man his father? Well, the reason why he included the Shabbat day is because the Almighty commanded us that not only we must honor him on the Sabbath day, but we even had to call the Sabbath honorable. And when one break the Sabbath day, when one decide I'm not going to keep the Sabbath day, or I don't have to serve or keep or do the Shabbat in captivity, what they really saying, I don't have to honor it. I don't even have to be honorable. In other words, they refused to humble themselves to the Shabbat day. Just like every man shall fear his father and his mother. The word fear also means to honor. But the word fear is a different level of honor. And when it comes to your parents, you should fear them. You should learn how to fear them. If you want to learn how to be most honorable. And what do honor actually means? What is the definition of honor? How do we know you're honoring your parents? You're honoring your mother and father. how humble you are to them. You show by your humility, which, as I stated before, this is how a son becomes perfect. Watch this. The third thing. We dealt with honor, we dealt with fear, but watch this third thing. It is called instructions. This is what you have to teach your son. You got to teach them how essential it is to follow instructions. Of course, that also goes back to honor. Will they honor that? But whether they will or won't, they have to learn it. You have to teach them. You have to show them. And watch this in the book of Proverbs. Proverbs, the 4th chapter. And watch what it says. In the book of Proverbs, the 4th chapter, we're going to read the 13th verse. And watch what it says. Take fast hold of instruction. Let her not go. In other words, hold on to real tight. What? Instruction. Keep her, for she is thy life. Just learning to follow instructions. Learning instruction, period. That's your life. That's what's going to aid you and be with you and propel you to be the best that you can. Because you learned one of the 3 greatest things that you can learn. And that is instruction. Because once you learn to be honorable, once you learn how to fear your parents and fear the Most High, which I'm going to show that scripture also, then now you're ready to take fast hold to instructions, because now you know how essential it is to your life. It is your life. Watch what it says. Proverbs, the 8th chapter, talking about the perfect son. In the book of Proverbs, the 8th chapter, and I'm going to read the 10th verse. It says, receive my instruction and not silver. Everybody going for the silver and the gold. But it says, receive my instruction and not silver. Knowledge rather than choice gold. And that's what instruction is. Instruction is knowledge. What type of parent wants to instruct their children to do wickedness? For the most part, most parents have their children's best interests. Not all the time. So you got to be careful. You got to be wise, which I'm going to show you that, in dealing with the knowledge that you're instructed to do. Also, dealing with this instruction, in the same Proverbs, the 8th chapter, the 33rd verse, it says, hear instruction and be wise. See, you still got to be wise. You can't just, the scriptures say, the simple believe in every word. You can't believe every word. You still have to be wise. And the scriptures will teach you how to be wise. Hear instruction and be wise, and refuse it not. Don't refuse it. You got to know the good instructions for your life. Instruction is for your life. Don't do this. Do this. Don't go that way. Go this way. You got to know what's best for your life. And just so I won't get too far ahead of everybody, I got to show you the fear of Yah, and it's one of his instructions. That's why instructions is important. Deuteronomy, the 10th chapter. And watch what it says. Going back to the second thing, which is the fear that you must teach your sons. Deuteronomy 10. Today's sons don't fear nothing. They don't fear their elders. They don't fear their parents. They don't fear society. They don't fear the police. They fear nothing. Deuteronomy, the 10th chapter, and whose fault is that? Is it their fault that they don't fear anything? Watch what it says, Deuteronomy, the 10th chapter, the 12th verse. And now, Yisrael, what does Yahweh, thy Elohim, require of thee? But to fear Yahweh, thy Elohim. I mean, this is the very first thing Yahweh said you should do. To walk in all his ways, to love him, to serve Yahweh, thy Elohim, with all thy heart, with all thy soul, to keep the commandments of Yahweh and his statutes, which I command thee this day for thy good. And that's the point. The point is, are the instructions for your good? Are they for your good? Hear instruction and be wise and refuse it not. The fourth thing, you're going to have to teach your sons. If you want them to be perfect, we already learned that he can be perfect. You can be perfect. So now you got to teach him the perfect word of Yahweh, which is the only perfect thing you can teach them. Watch this. In the book of Proverbs, the 25th chapter, this is the fourth thing that you got to teach your children, your son, to be perfect. Let me make that crystal clear. This is your son, the perfect son. That's what we're dealing with. We're going to deal with the daughters. But watch this in Proverbs 25. And this is what it says in the 28th verse. And I'm going to start at the 27th verse so you can understand this 28th verse. It says, it is not good to eat much honey. So for men to search their own glory, it's not glory. That's not glory at all. And this is the reason why you would even search your own glory. It says in the 28th verse, he that have no rule over his own spirit is like a city that is broken down without walls. So what is that telling us? That you got to learn how to rule. And the very first thing a son have to learn how to rule is his own spirit. And why? Because one day he's going to be a ruler. It is inevitable. If he's going to be a father, he will rule. If he's going to be a husband, he will rule. If he build a house, he will rule. He will. It's inevitable for your son to rule. It's part of what he was made to do. So the first things he's got to learn is to rule self before he can rule anything else. He's got to learn that. And many of our people don't. And this is why many of our sons don't. And watch this in the book of 2 Samuel, because all our people are not meant to rule. This is why this is for a son. Watch this in the book of 2 Samuel and show you how he will rule if he's perfect. And we already established that he can be perfect. 2 Samuel, the 23rd chapter. In the book of 2 Samuel 23, and this is what it says, in starting at verse 1. Now these be the last words of David, the son of Jesse, said. And who was David? David was a king of Israel. Who was David? David was a man after Yahweh's heart. Who was David? A man that Yahweh said was perfect. That's who David is. And these are his last words. Now, the last word a man can say, is it going to be words of vanity? Or will they be perfect words that you can take with you and live out the rest of your life? Watch what he says. And the man who was raised up on high, the anointed of the Elohim of Yaakov, the sweet psalmist of Israel, said, the Spirit of Yahweh spoke by me, and his word was in my tongue. The Elohim of Israel said, the rock of Israel spoke to me, he that ruleth over men must be just, ruling in the fear of Elohim. And he shall be as the light of the morning, when the sun rises, even the morning without clouds, as the tender grass springing out of the earth by clear shining after the rain. This how you rule. This how you become a master. This how you become a perfect son. Because one day you will also be obligated to raise other perfect sons. That's your plight. That's your mission in life. The fifth thing, and we just got these three things left. And watch this in the book of Genesis, the 12th chapter. The fifth thing. And the fifth thing has everything to do with how you will live your life. Will you live your life as a taker? Or will you live your life as a giver? And let me show you what a son got to learn to be perfect. Watch this in the book of Genesis, the 12th chapter. The third verse. This is, well, we'll start at the first verse. Now Yahweh had said unto Abram, get thee out of thy country and thy kindred, and from thy father's house, unto a land that I will show thee. And why did Yahweh separate him from his father? I thought a father is the one who's supposed to teach you. Well, he does. And in other words, Yahweh also is a father. And Yahweh had elected to teach Abraham himself as a father teach his son. And this is what he began to teach him after he separated him from his father's house. And I will make of thee a great nation, and I will bless thee and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. And I will bless them that bless thee, curse him that curseth thee, and in thee shall all the families of the earth be blessed. In other words, Yahweh took Abram out of his father's house to establish his own house, but to establish his own house, Yahweh gave Abram these perfect ways to establish his house. So you got to raise your sons. You got to teach your sons how to establish his house. And you do that through blessings. Because everybody is going to be blessed through him, if you're Israel. And not just there. Watch the 28th chapter of Genesis. Genesis 28, talking about a perfect son. You can't send your sons out here without the knowledge of Elohim. Watch this, Genesis 28. And we're going to read, starting at the 13th verse. And behold, Yahweh stood above it and said, I am Yahweh, Elohim of Abraham thy father, the Elohim of Yitzhak, the land whereon thou liest. To thee will I give it, and to thy seed. Talking about Jacob. He was dreaming. He had a vision. He was asleep. Right there in the land that he will possess. And thy seed shall be as the dust of the earth. And thou shalt spread abroad to the west, and to the east, and to the north, and to the south. And in thee, and in thy seed, shall all the families of the earth be blessed. How can you not be a blessing? Your house must be established upon blessings. This is how you teach your sons. This is the knowledge you give them in their heart and mind, so they one day can execute it. The sixth thing that your son got to learn, very important thing if they desire to be blessed, it's in the book of Proverbs. Go back to Proverbs. Proverbs 31. Watch what it says. In the book of Proverbs 31. And we're going to read verse 3. This is what it says. Give not thy strength unto women, nor thy ways to that which destroy kings. In other words, you got to learn. This is what his mother taught him. You got to understand that the power was given to you, the power lies with you, and you can't relinquish that power. Because it's yours to execute and no one else. You the husband, you the father, you the master. So be it. Or unless you have decided to destroy yourself. And the last thing, the seventh thing that your sons got to be taught, got to know, is in the book of Proverbs also. And watch what it says. Proverbs 2. And we'll read this in conclusion. And this is what it says in the first verse. My son, if thou receive my words, hide my commandments with thee, so that thou incline thy ear unto wisdom, apply thy heart unto understanding. Yea, if thou cries after knowledge and lift up thy voice for understanding, if thou seekest her as silver, searchest for her as hid treasure, then shalt thou understand the fear of Yahweh and find the knowledge of Elohim, because there is nothing greater that you can find than the knowledge of Elohim. You got people looking for treasures in the oceans. You got people looking for treasures in the heavens. You got people trying to become rich in every way humanly possible. But who is trying to get the knowledge of Elohim? Hosea the 6th chapter. Watch what it says. So you can see that I'm telling you this truth. Because when you don't have this knowledge of Elohim, let me show you what will happen. Hosea the 6th chapter. Watch this. Hosea the 6th chapter, the 6th verse. Look at what the Creator says. For I desire mercy and not sacrifice, the knowledge of Elohim more than burnt offering. There's no sacrifice you can give Yahweh greater than knowing him. And this is why our people are faced with this demise and destruction that they're in today. Watch this. Hosea, the 4th chapter, the 6th verse. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. And because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me. Seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy Elohim, I will also forget thy children. So Yahweh is letting us know how essential his knowledge is. It's greater than every knowledge that you can possess. The knowledge of Elohim. But this is the law of perfection number 5. The perfect son. This is what your sons got to be taught. This is what your sons got to know if they indeed, and if you indeed desire them to be perfect. Until our next lesson, Yahweh love you, and so do I. Shalom.